the pitch rather than off the pitch. Yep. What do you think of the job that Guy Whittingham's doing in terms of his quick recruitment policy, which he sort of brought in a whole squad within a couple of weeks, and also the types of players that he's brought in? Have you been impressed?
Right. Yeah, Guy Whittingham's doing a good job. He was thrown in at the deep end at the end of last season, and when he literally on a day-to-day basis didn't know which players were going to be at the club, through no fault of his own. Obviously, we got relegated through nobody's fault, on the pitch or in the management, more down to off-field than on-field. Since this summer, he's been going on a recruitment frenzy, and he's done a great job. You think of that, I keep reading on different internet forums that Pompey are trying to buy the league, which is great because we've signed 14 players for the grand total of, hang on, nothing. So he's just doing a phenomenal job. We've got a wage cap set by the Football League, not by the club. We've got transfer embargo set by the Football League that says we're not allowed to spend a single penny on players for 2 years. So if that's buying the league, hey.
Have there been any players that you've seen that you're particularly excited about playing for the club?
Well, all of them, to be honest, because they're all now, because they know then that, the days of turning up at Fratton Park on the the get quick rich scheme that we had going on down there are over. These players are playing because they want to be playing for Portsmouth Football Club. They've bought into this ethos of a community football club owned and run by the supporters. So that can only be a great thing. What happens on the pitch will happen on the pitch. As fans, we can't do anything about that other than get behind the management and get behind the team.
Have you been to any of the pre-season games so far?
I've not. I have to be honest with you. I've taken a football sabbatical over this last couple of weeks. I will kick back in with a Charlton friendly because all of this is this entire process, I have to be honest, has made me fall out of love with football a little.
That's fair enough. In the run-up to next season, you must feel that it's important to sort of temper expectations, people thinking Pompey are a big club.
The worst and biggest job that the Pompey Supporters Trust has got now is to manage expectations. We've sold in excess of 10,000 season tickets, which is phenomenal for someone like me who talks in old money Division 4 football. It's just absolutely stunning. I think by the time the season kicks off, we'll be pushing towards about 13,000 season tickets, my guess. So we'll have gates of 15, 16, 17,000 on a regular basis at Fratton Park. Now on top of that, people have paid their money, they demand to be entertained. I get that. I also get that they'll expect to be promoted. It ain't going to be that easy.
For the 10,000 season tickets, are you surprised that we've managed to sell that many? Because I don't know where I heard it or whatever, but now the club's safe. It's sort of everyone got behind the club when the club was in trouble and wanting to make sure the future of the club was secure. But now it's secure, maintaining the sort of high level of interest in the club. Do you reckon it's a surprise that you managed to get 10,000 people?
Absolutely not. So I myself and a couple of other guys, we made a prediction. I'm just short of mine at the moment. I said 12,000. I just knew that we would do this. There were a lot of fans, myself included, that refused to enter Fratton Park all the time. It was under the control of the previous regime because we knew that our money was disappearing into a British Virgin Islands bank account. So we just wouldn't entertain it. Now the club's ours. It's we're in charge of our own destiny, and a lot of fans have bought into this. A lot of fans were when we were promoted to the Premier League. A lot of fans were disenfranchised. The price, went through the roof for season tickets literally overnight, and people just couldn't afford it. This is a blue-collar city. It might look nice on the waterfront, but it's a working-class city. People in this city graft for their money, and they haven't got hundreds and hundreds of pounds to throw away on football as much as they want to. Now we're back in the hands of people who love the club, know about the club, care about the club, and are setting reasonable and proper season ticket prices. It's not maths, is it? It's not difficult to work out, is it?
Are you happy with the pricing system at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, personally I'd like to have seen that maybe 30, 40 quid cheaper, I've got to be honest. I said that from day one. But you know, you can't have everything, can you? But it's a realistic season ticket price.
For obviously, tickets are going to be bringing in a lot of revenue for the club, but also there's a lot of other fundraisers going on. What do you think of? I mean, Fans Day is, you only have to pay as much as you want. But
Fans Day's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's great. Yeah, you can stump up at Fratton Park for a friendly. Okay, yeah, it's a friendly, but if you want to pay £1 to get in, pay £1 to get in. You know, that's the way it is. You know, pay what you feel. You know, I just think that's a great idea. And yeah, we've got other things. You know, let's all laugh at Pompey. That was a great idea. You know, the comedy night. In the town the other day. You know, we've got a music festival going on at the moment. You know, you've got all of these people, but all of these ideas are by Pompey fans, for Pompey fans. These are people who couldn't necessarily afford to buy a full share in the share option, but want to do something to help, to raise money. I mean, the Pompey's 12th Man initiative, the guys that set that up, that's just fantastic. You know, they've raised in excess of 20 grand, you know, to the trust. Yeah, it's going to the Pompey Supporters Trust. So you've got all of these people doing what they can and what they know best. You know, me, I'm talentless. You know, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't play a musical instrument. I'm probably a great bet for X Factor or something. You know, so, but you know, these guys, they've got their talent, they're using their talent, and you've got local bands that are getting on board. You've got pubs and clubs getting on board because they've all seen how massive this can be.
A slightly more concerning way, in my opinion, of raising funds is the Tesco deal, because it just seems a bit weird to me how it's a community club, obviously, and obviously we need money, and the Tesco deal is, but would you not feel that it could possibly have a negative effect on the community? I know
what you're saying, I agree, but what you've got to remember is that's not the club's land.
Yeah.
That land doesn't belong to Portsmouth Football Club. I've read, you know, how many millions Portsmouth Football Club or Portsmouth Community Football Club's going to be making out of this deal. They're not. You know, that land is owned by a property developer who helped us secure the club. Now that's his land. You know, he can do what he wants with it. You know, he can literally do what he wants with it. Now the fact that we're getting something from that deal obviously helps the club. Now, I could stand here and lie and tell you how wonderful it's going to be and how great the people at Tesco's are and all the rest of it. But we know that Tesco's #1 concern is Tesco's. You know, yes, I do have concerns for the local businesses, but that's down to the likes of me, because I also live in the area. I don't just support the club, I live, you know, in that area. You know, my local shops will be affected by that Tesco's. So it's down to me to support my local shop, like I've always done. I mean, we've got a great butcher's on the doorstep there. Continue to use it. You know, and so, yeah, I do. There is a nagging thing at the back of my mind that says, you know, is this really ethical? But it's going to happen, whether we like it as a club or not.
With the new money that's coming in, what do you hope are the most important things that the money's put towards?
When we were in the Premier League, there was a missed opportunity for Portsmouth Football Club. There were people at the club who done very nicely, thank you. Not just the players either. But we had nothing. We entered it with the same stadium we've got today. We have no training ground. We could have built a training ground. We could have done, there's so much we could have done as a club when we were in the Premier League with all those millions of pounds rolling in. That's not for me to say where those millions of pounds went. I can suggest, but there are libel laws. So now we need to build. But the thing is, what happened at Fratton Park then was they wanted to build a 16-bedroom mansion. But instead of starting at the foundations, they started with the ensuite bedroom. Now we've got to go back to them foundations. We've got to build the club from the ground up. We need to get the training ground sorted out. That's down the line. We need to get an academy going so we can develop young players. You know, we hit a few years ago when we were in the Premier League, Portsmouth Schools won the Schools FA Cup for the first time in generations. Not one of those players was signed for Pompey. Now that's criminal, absolutely criminal. So that's what we've got to do now. We've got to start building an academy, bringing young players through. Because I've always said that the future of Portsmouth Football Club is in young people on the pitch and in the stands.
I think that's the most exciting thing really about Guy's squad, is that there are a lot of young people from the academy who aren't just sort of making up the numbers and actually coming on the pitch.
Absolutely. In previous years, previous managers, one that currently resides in West London, those players would have never played for Pompey ever. It just would never have happened. He wouldn't have even known their names, let alone their ability on the football pitch. And now those players are coming through, and some of them, they've hit the ground running and they're doing really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. So, in a more overall point, what have your impressions been of the trust so far since it assumed control, positives and negatives?
They're doing some good things. They can't do everything overnight. That's impossible. It's just not going to happen. They're doing as much as they can with limited resources. The club's financially strapped. We know that. I think the kit deal was rushed. That's my opinion. It's not the opinion of anybody else. That's my personal opinion. I think there was a rush to get out the season ticket prices. I think with more thought, they could have been lower, but what do I know? We've sold over 10,000, so proves I know nothing on that score. But they're doing some really great things. They're engaging the community. They're speaking to fans. It's a situation now where you can pick up the phone and speak to someone at Portsmouth Football Club, and the person you speak to may not know the answer, but within an hour you've had a call back or an email back from someone who does know the answer. Whether you like the answer is another thing, but there's communication now between everybody, literally right from the chairman of the club, to people who work in the ticket office. That was lost a little bit. I mean, there's always been great people working behind the scenes at Pompey, but they've been beaten down because of what was happening above their pay grade.
And then I suppose a final question. What are you most excited for next season in itself, and then looking further forward, what are your sort of hopes?
Well, next season I'm hoping for a season where I don't have to be talking to people like you, with the greatest respect. Where I'll be happy with a mediocre, nothing happens, no excitement, dull season. I've not had one of them for years. Seriously, I'm hoping for a decent season. If we go up, we go up. If we don't, it doesn't matter. The long term, I hope that the club is sustainable, self-sustainable, that we're doing well, that the academy and training ground are built, that the long-awaited ground redevelopment at Fratton Park happens, and we get promoted, and we end up playing in the Championship for many years, because quite happily, if I never see Premier League football again, I'll be delighted, because Premier League is the worst thing that's ever happened to football in this country.
Good note to end on, I think. Yeah.